Well, good evening, everybody. It is 6:31 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order by recognizing the traditional keepers of this land and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the municipality of Brighton is located on the Mississauga-Anishinaabe territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga. The Council of the Municipality of Brighton respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I will also advise that due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting will be held using various formats. Members of council and some municipal staff are present in chambers. Other staff members, our delegation, and members and the delegation are joining us via electronic conference technology. The public is invited to join us by viewing this meeting live on the Municipality of Brighton YouTube channel. I will also note that once we proceed into the closed session, the live YouTube stream will end for the duration of tonight's council meeting. And with that, we move into some amendments to our agenda, and it's moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that council amend the July 21st, 2021 planning meeting agenda to add under section 8.2, the official plan amendment number 7. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. And a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council amend the July 21st, 2021 planning meeting agenda to include a closed session under section, I think it says 9, but it'll be 10, pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 as amended, subsection 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically with regard to the wastewater pollution control plant concepts. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. A motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Deputy Mayor Vink, that council approve the July 21st, 2021 planning meeting agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion's carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. There are none noted. Council will hear one delegation this evening. It is noted that the language, content, and conduct must remain respectful at all times. Council will be provided with an opportunity to ask questions of clarification from the delegation representative based on the information that they have presented. Council is reminded that this is not an opportunity to engage in debate with the delegate, nor advance a public policy position. Ruth Ferguson Aulthouse, President of RFA Planning Consultants, is coming to us regarding application for a plan of subdivision, specifically the Butler Creek condos. Ms. Ferguson Aulthouse, welcome back to Brighton Council, albeit virtually, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and members of council. If I can share screen, I have a very brief presentation to update council regarding the subdivision application. I'm here on behalf of my client, LeBlanc Enterprises and Al LeBlanc. This slide shows the plan that's been updated for the Butler Creek subdivision, which is being considered tonight by council for draft plan approval. We've been working on this project for almost 2 years now. Originally, it was a 128 unit condominium plan. Last fall, there was a public meeting that was held, and then the rezoning application was approved in December to zone the land for singles, semis, and fourplex housing units. The draft plan of subdivision was a requirement, however, to provide for new street extensions for Pier and Nautical, as well as a new east-west road that would connect to Cedar Street. And finally, there was also a parkland dedication that was requested north of the subdivision to allow for the future extension of the Butler Creek Trail. So this spring, we did file the plan of subdivision application, and the public meeting was held last month. There are now the draft approval conditions that are prepared for consideration, And we have been reviewing these with staff, and I can advise that my client finds these conditions acceptable. At the June 14th public meeting, there were a total of 110 units proposed. There were 4 single detached units, lots 1, 10, 11, and 18, that are located along the southern portion of the subdivision, as well as 22 semi-detached dwellings and 84 fourplex units that are part of the condominium block on the north side of the Street A, which was the Forest Drive extension. We did hear concerns from the public regarding the semi-detached units on Pier Drive and Nautical Lane, as well as the concern about the street name Forest Drive and the setbacks from the existing driveways and the side yards for the existing homes on Pier and Nautical. So staff asked us to see if it was possible to reconfigure the plan to respond to the public comments. Since that time, in the past few weeks, we've worked with staff to revise the draft plan, and this is an enlargement of that drawing that is shown on this slide. There is an increase in single detached units by 5, so there are now 9 single detached units, and these are in the lighter orange color here, shown in this portion of the concept plan. And then we've reduced the number of semi-detached units by 6 to 16, which are shown in the orange color, that are removed from Pier and Nautical with respect to where the existing single detached homes are. We've also lost 1 unit from what was presented at the last meeting. So I do recall council in particular had wanted to ensure that some of these units here were reviewed to see if there would be the potential for single detached units here instead of semi-detached units. And we did find that there was a requirement and will be a requirement if this plan is approved for minor variance for one of the lots. Lot 15, which is a corner lot, requires more frontage. So it's roughly 2 meters shy of what's required for a corner lot. However, it can meet all the other setbacks. This plan also shows an increase in the side yard setbacks from the southern property line of these dwelling units and from beyond what's required in the zoning bylaw of 1.2 meter. And there's also the driveways themselves, which are shown in the gray on the plan, increased setback from the driveways on the south side of the subdivision. We've developed a new street name, working with Mr. Toby on his subdivision as well, and through the municipal and 911 approvals. And the street name that's proposed is Meadow Creek Drive. So this again was the desire to have a different street name than Forest Drive was one of the items that was referenced in the public comments. Just very briefly wanted to review again some of the policy statements, and these are covered very extensively in the staff report this evening. That the proposed subdivision is adjacent to the built-up area in Brighton. It's within the Brighton settlement area, which is to be the focus for growth. The land uses within the settlement areas are required to have a mix of density and a mix of land uses. The Butler Creek subdivision is the logical progression of this existing residential area. And in our opinion, the housing will be compatible with the existing low-density housing, and there is a transition of density, as I've just explained. The 2-bedroom fourplex buildings, which will be part of the condominium, will address the needs of the aging population and for the desire for smaller household sizes. The development and subdivision is consistent with all of the provincial policies, and it conforms to both the County of Northumberland and the Brighton official plan. This slide shows the property outlined in purple on the Brighton official plan land use schedule. And you can see that the subdivision lands are highlighted in yellow, which is the residential designation. And the Brighton official plan does encourage a blend of housing topologies, and a mix of housing types are proposed. The subdivision itself conforms with the low density requirement in the Brighton official plan of 30 units per hectare. And in the official plan, both single detached and semi-detached dwellings are considered low density. Since the project began in its early stages with this first submission, we have reduced the number of dwelling units overall by 19. And finally, the subdivision is in proximity to community facilities and existing parks, and it will also provide a major park dedication for the Butler Creek Trail extension. So that's my presentation, just wanting to bring council up to date on the work that we have been doing with the planning staff in resolving and addressing, we hope, the concerns of the local community regarding this subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ferguson Aulthouse. We appreciate your delegation. I'll open the floor to members of council for questions of clarification. Councillor Anderson.
I'll just ask about, was there a fence along that south stretch of property? At one time we discussed that. And the second question about sidewalks on the main street there, we had talked about as well. So I didn't hear anything about those.
The first question is fencing considered along the southern portion of the property?
Well, there will be fencing provided through the detailed draft approval conditions, as well as the draft approval conditions cover a wide variety of issues such as street tree planting, sidewalks on Cedar Street, in answer to the other question, along the extent of the subdivision lands.
So I think that answers both of your questions. They will be included in the subdivision agreement.
Thank you.
Right. Any other questions of clarification? Councillor LeBlanc.
I want to thank you very much for, through your chair. Thank you. Sorry for that. I want to thank you very much for your delegation tonight. And I really appreciate what the developer has done, listening to all the residents and all the public meetings you've gone through, and our staff that has worked with you, that have come up with these concepts and have addressed all the concerns of the residents, mostly all of them. And you've also addressed the stormwater management plan for the insufficiency of the pipes and finishing the streets on Nautical and Pier. It's not a question. I just want to thank you for going through this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor LeBlanc. Anything further from members of council? Councillor Tadman.
Thank you. And I'd like to echo that too. We've got about 500 pages here of what these people have been through to get to tonight. And when I see 19 dwellings alone have been reduced and all the concerns basically met, I think we could move on with this meeting, Mayor. You know, it'd be great to.
Thank you, Councillor Tadman, and we will for sure move on in the meeting. Anyone else? Well, thank you, Ruth. We appreciate it again. I'd echo the comments from Councillors Tadman and LeBlanc. You and the developer have been very responsive to both the community, council's requests, and staff input. We appreciate that kind of work. It's much easier to work with a developer than to try to row upstream, so to speak. So thank you very much, and our thanks to LeBlanc Enterprises for their responsiveness as well. Appreciate that.
Thank you. We'll be sure to pass that on to my client, and we look forward to moving forward with the project and working with Brighton staff.
Thank you. And with that, I have a motion moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that council receive the delegation from Ruth Ferguson Aulthouse, President of RFA Planning Consultant Inc, regarding application for Plan of Subdivision sub 2021-01 Butler Creek condos. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion's carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening, which takes us into planning and development reports. First report is with regard to Brighton Meadows-Official Plan Amendment. Mr. Barry, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to add at this time.
Thank you. I thought that's what you said, but I dare not guess. With that, I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that council receive. No, I already did. That's a double. That's a duplicate. I have a motion moved by Councillor Tadman, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that the report of the Planning and Development Department dated July 21st, 2021, regarding subdivision file number sub 2019-03, official plan amendment number OPA 01-2019, and zoning bylaw amendment Z21-2019 be received. The council proceed to adopt official plan amendment number 7, which will redesignate a portion of the subject lands described as part of lots 3 and 4, concession 1, parts 1 to 3 of Plan 39R 11840, part 1 of Plan 39R 9894, part of part 1 of Plan 39R 10910, part of parts 1 to 4 of Plan 38R 1408, and part of lots 29 to 31 on Registered Plan 28 in the municipality of Brighton from the community facilities and open space and greenfield designations to the residential and environmental protection designations. And the council enacts a bylaw to adopt official plan amendment number 7 to the municipality of Brighton official plan, and that staff be directed to prepare and submit the completed planning record to the County of Northumberland requesting county approval. And further, that council enacts a bylaw to rezone certain lands described as part of lots 3 and 4, concession 1, parts 1 to 3 of Plan 39R 11840, part 1 of Plan 39R 9894, part of part 1 of Plan 39R 10910, part of parts 1 to 4 of Plan 38R 1408, and part of lots 29 to 31 on Registered Plan 28 in the municipality of Brighton from the Special Agricultural 1 zone, the Special Agricultural 3 zone, the Future Development Zone, and the Environmental Protection Zone to the Special Urban 2 Residential 42 zone, the Special Urban Residential 2 3 zone, the Special Residential 4 1, the Open Space Zone, and the Environmental Protection Zone. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a lot of zoning.
Uh-huh.
I just have one question regarding item 3. The planning department will submit a completed planning record to the county. Does this hold up the process at all, or is this something that's just kind of rubber stamped at some point?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So this is just a formal process. So because we're a lower tier municipality, the county official plan, the county has to approve it as the upper tier body. From what I understand, it's mostly a rubber stamp exercise, but if Mr. Walsh has anything to add, I'll let him speak as well.
Mr. Walsh.
To the mayor to council, the county has been consulted along the way, so we don't think there will be any surprises when it reaches their desk.
Thank you. Councillor Tadman.
I think we'll all agree too that it's good to know that we'll have that next link for the trail and there'll be some green space there too. So kudos to the developer and planning and everybody else that got that through. So our job is being done for us, Councillor LeBlanc.
Thank you for that. And this is the Brighton Meadows one, not the Butler Creek trail. So, but this also has additional more parkland dedication than is required under our policy. Is that correct, Mr. Barry?
That is correct. Yes, there is a slight over dedication with the EP area.
Thank you. And that is a concern I've heard from members of the public. So I just want to be clear that we are in fact getting more public space than is required under our policies. Are there any other questions or comments from members of council? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. That takes us to a report with regard to pre-consultation bylaw for planning applications. Mr. Barry, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
I have nothing to add at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council receives the staff report regarding the pre-consultation bylaw for planning applications, and further that a bylaw be enacted to require applicants to consult with the municipality of Brighton prior to submitting application for an official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, site plan control, and plan of subdivision or condominium approval. Is there any discussion? Councillor Bateman.
I just had a couple questions for clarification. It says, once we enact this, they submit the application. Is there a timeline that somebody can expect a response back? Like, I don't know if you can put a definitive on it, but like if they had it, it'll be 4 weeks and under that they would get an appointment, because we always hear that some people think it takes too long or is too fast. It's like,
Mr. Barry, any comment?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I'll let Paul add comments as well if needed. So typically, depending on the complexity of the application, for minor applications that are not major development, typically we'll get back to the developer within 2 weeks to schedule a formal pre-consultation meeting with all departmental, and we like to include our partners at Lower Trent as well, so the developer is aware of their regulatory process. For more complex applications, large subdivisions or medium and high density, it could be up to 4 weeks. We just want to make sure that the county and Lower Trent is at the table as well.
Thank you for that. Mr. Walsh, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think Josh expressed it well. We'll try and make have 3 categories of applications: as simple, atypical, and larger complex. The timelines will vary accordingly. We can set up some customer service timelines based on those classes in the future when we develop perhaps a procedural manual for approvals. But I think when I first came, I set up a development review committee to make sure that there was a regularly scheduled meetings every 2 weeks so that everyone could be around the table and speak to these applications in a timely fashion. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Councillor Bateman, did you have a follow-up?
just another one for quick clarification. There's a $500 fee, and I think I saw in here somewhere that it gets applied to it if it's within 6 months. But some, as it says, could be more complex. If it's goes beyond the 6 months and it's out of the control of the, whether it's a developer or a single person that's building a home, if it's something that you've asked for as the planning department, and it's a delay on getting the information to the person, does that kick in and they still default that $500 if it's out of their control?
Mr. Barry, do you have a comment on that?
I'll let Paul comment on this one. I think he has more experience with the fees.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Walsh?
I find that the fee is fairly low for the extent that staff put their time into it. I mean, you can expect the whole development review team spending, a significant effort on the pre-consultation stage. The public benefits from that. So I think the fee is reasonable. If they felt that the fee should be refunded past the time we've allowed for it, then they would need to only express that. And if there is good reason to, then administratively could do that. And if there's a sense that maybe we're departing from the intent of that fee bylaw passed by council, then we may directly request that from council directly.
Thank you. Councillor Cadman.
I think this is a great idea, and this is something that Lower Trent's been pushing for a long time, and other municipalities are doing that, and it just helps so much more, because when Lower Trent also is involved with the planning, then they can, guide the people where you don't go in the wetland, and make them aware of things that they know through their mapping. So I think this will speed things up, even though at the first it may feel like it's slower, but I think in the end it will speed all of the planning up.
And will prevent some of those pitfalls we've seen
Yeah,
both the municipality and some applicants fall in
Yeah.
through the course of an application.
right.
Deputy Mayor?
Thanks. I was just going to comment as well. It's the hope that this will help to streamline things. And I mean, it's just been said as well, but I'm assuming that's what the purpose is.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that's exactly the purpose. It's to give people an understanding of the requirements up front so they can understand the major issues and constraints and work through the process as a team up front.
Thank you. Councillor LeBlanc.
Chair for the planner. So the council requested a performa. Is this the performa that's been requested by council that the planning staff have come up with? And this would apply also to rural lots as urban lots as major subdivisions?
Mr. Walsh?
To the mayor, the pre-consultation bylaw that we're presenting is a bit of a housekeeping matter. We've already had the pre-consultation form on our website and have been using it. But the Planning Act actually requires a bylaw. So we're doing some housekeeping here. Second part of the question about what it's applicable to, it doesn't apply to consents or minor variances. The Planning Act kind of sets out what pre-consultation will apply to, and it doesn't specify consent applications and doesn't specify minor variance applications. presumably if we had something in official plan policies regarding requirements of pre-consultations on maybe certain studies, then it would maybe be invoked on a consent if that consent required that study, for example. And then, as Josh pointed out in conversation with me earlier this week, that most consents require zoning bylaw amendment as a condition to support the severance, and in which case pre-consultation would be invoked through that mechanism.
Yeah, so this is the performer.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both for that. Any further questions or comments from members of council? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion is carried. It takes us to the Behan construction application. Mr. Barry, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
I have nothing to add at this time.
I have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Council Rowley. The council receives the staff report regarding application for site plan control approval, file number SP02-2021, under the name of Behan Construction Limited, pertaining to Part 4 on 39R 14237. And that council resolves to hereby grant site plan approval under Section 41 of the Planning Act and direct staff to forward the site plan agreement to the owner for execution following resolution of any outstanding concerns, if applicable, to the satisfaction of municipal staff. And further, that council proceed to enact a bylaw authorizing the mayor and the clerk to sign a site plan agreement pertaining to Behan Construction, Part 4 on 39R 14237. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion is carried. That takes us to report with regard to 27 Price Street West. Mr. Barry, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight, sir?
No, I have nothing to add.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Deputy Mayor Vink, that the report of the Planning and Development Department dated July 21st, 2021, regarding 27 Price Street West deeming bylaw be received, that a bylaw be enacted to deem the following lands as designated to not be a registered plan of subdivision for the purposes of Section 50, subsection 3 of the Planning Act, lots 1 and 2, east of Lambton Street, registered plan 28, Town of Brighton, Municipality of Brighton, County of Northumberland. And further, that a waiver and undertaking stipulating that the application agrees to waive notice and hearing shall be sent to the applicant, and upon receipt of its completion with signature, the deeming bylaw be registered. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion is carried. That takes us to the application for plan of subdivision, specifically Butler Creek Condo. Mr. Barry, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
I have nothing to add at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that the report of the Planning and Development Department dated July 21st, 2021, regarding subdivision file number sub 2021-01 be received. That draft plan of subdivision file number sub 2021-01 for lands located on Part 1, Plan 39R 12620, being part of Lot 1, Concession 1 in the municipality of Brighton be approved, subject to the conditions presented in attachment number 4. And further, that the owner be permitted to apply for a minor variance application to the Committee of Adjustment if required, before the second anniversary of the day on which the implementing zoning bylaw comes into effect, permit minor adjustments to the implementing zoning bylaw if required. Is there any discussion? Deputy Mayor.
I just, again, everyone's talking about how pleased we are with this developer for making these changes. And I'm just pleased to see that we have some condos going in this sort of housing. We need it so badly in Brighton. So I'm happy to see this move forward. I'm glad that we've been able to go back and forth a little bit and make some changes. So I'm like Councillor Tadman, I'm ready to see this move forward.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any further comments, questions? Just again, the similar question to the one I had with the other subdivision. I know that the lands being dedicated for parkland along the Butler Creek Trail are significant, and I believe they are significantly more than required under our policy for parkland dedication. I'm just looking for staff to confirm that to be true?
Yes, Mr. Chair, they are certainly more than 5%.
Thank you. So anything further from members of council? All those in, go ahead, Councillor Tadman.
What was in the report, but I just to bring it up so that everybody knows or at least remembers that we may have some young, quite a few young families, and so the dedicated land there, the trail, and then the Kinsman playground right across the road is ideal for that kind of a concept. So
Thank you for that. Yeah.
yeah.
Anything further? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion is carried. We have nothing under unfinished business, which takes us into bylaws. First bylaw is a deeming bylaw for 27 Price Street West, as moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Anderson. The council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to deem a part of a subdivision not to be registered, lots 1 and 2 east of Lambton Street, registered plan 28, town of Brighton. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Our second bylaw is with regard to Brighton Meadows. It's moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw under the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, to amend bylaw 140/2002 as otherwise amended of the corporation of the municipality of Brighton as it applies to certain lands described as part of lots 3 and 4, concession 1, parts 1 to 3 of Plan 39R 11840, part 1 of Plan 39R 9894, part of part 1 of Plan 39R 10910, part of parts 1 to 4 of Plan 38R 1408, and part of lots 29 to 31 on Registered Plan 28. And further, that council approves the adoption bylaw for official plan amendment number 7, Schedule A, Land Use Map 1, Brighton Rural Area to the official plan of the municipality of Brighton is hereby amended by redesignating certain lands located in part of lots 3 and 4, concession 1, parts 1 to 3 of Plan 39R 11840, part 1 of Plan 39R 9894, part of part 1 of Plan 39R 10910, part of parts 1 to 4 of Plan 38R 1408, and part of lot 29 to 31 on Registered Plan 28 in the municipality of Brighton from the community facilities and open space and greenfield designations to the residential and environmental protection designations as illustrated on Schedule A attached here to and forming part of this amendment. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. This takes us to a bylaw with regard to pre-consultation, moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. The council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading, and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw under the provisions of subsections 22, 34, 41, and 51 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13, as amended to require consultation with the municipality of Brighton prior to submission of planning applications. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion is carried. Now that takes us into question period, and I understand we do have a few residents chiming in for questions with regard to tonight's agenda. Question period is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions about items that appeared on this evening's agenda. Members are asked to state their name for the record before asking their question. A maximum of 5 minutes is set aside for question period. Language, content, and conduct must remain respectful at all times. Questions will be received and answered by the mayor or by a member of council or staff if designated by the mayor. Our first question comes from Cheryl Duxbury. Cheryl, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. Yourself?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm just going to read my question that I have here, if that's all right.
Please do.
Okay, it's in regards, obviously, to the Butler Creek condominiums. And I would just like to say good evening, Mr. Mayor and councillors. I would like to thank those council members who came here to the end of Pier Drive and Nautical and spoke with us directly regarding our concerns. I truly believe that working together always creates a more beneficial outcome for all parties involved. I do have a question regarding the various dwellings. Which of these dwellings, if any, have a basement, either partial or full?
Do we know the answer to that question yet, Mr. Walsh?
That's premature for me to answer that question. I think the high groundwater table was a matter of discussion. It's on the radar. Whether we can address it in the final design of things, I don't know if perhaps manager of approvals has had some more advanced conversations with the applicant.
Mr. Barry, do you have an answer for that question?
We'll have to look into it in detail, but I understand that the triplex dwellings will likely be constructed slab on grade, which means they would have no basement.
That's the condominiums on the north side of what is being called Meadow Creek on the latest drawings?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, the condos on the north side. As for the south side, I don't have any detailed plans for the singles and semis.
But Cheryl, unfortunately, we can't answer the question definitively this evening. The condominiums on the north side of the proposed roadway are designed, or the ones in that LeBlanc Enterprises has built in Port Hope and Coburg are slab on grade. So I would expect that they would use the same or similar design for the ones in Brighton rather than reinventing the proverbial wheel. But we don't know what the plan is for the proposed buildings on the south side. Keeping in mind that tonight's planning planning decision was just giving permission to proceed to the next step, which is to provide a subdivision agreement moving forward.
Okay, now I do have another question. Regarding on the actual site plan itself, where each lot has a plus and a minus symbol, what is the maximum allowance for these symbols? You know, when you're talking about building beside someone, is it 500 meters? Is it 2 meters? What is the maximum allowance for these plus and minus symbols?
Mr. Walsh?
Through the mayor, the plus minus symbols are just in reference to the side yard and front yard and clearances as expressed in the zoning bylaws. So they're saying that when they put a number in there, they're really showing the proposed, and usually it's the minimum. I know on the single detached lots abutting the homes on Pier and Nautical that they are exceeding the minimums there. So the plus or minus means it's rounded off to the nearest number above the decimal point, or you know, it could be a couple of decimal points off, basically, but it's going to be pretty much as shown on the plan.
Okay. Now, does anyone know what the actual elevation will be on these dwellings?
I don't think we have that information yet.
No. Well, that's.
I don't believe so, but it's not a lot of major grading proposed and as a result of the stormwater management plan. So the current grades will be fairly similar to the as-built grades.
Okay, because that's obviously of major concern to us, especially if the condominiums are on slabs. We already have issues in this area with water, as everyone knows. So obviously having dwellings with basements would help that water issue. So that's why I asked that question. But that is it for me. Again, I want to thank the councillors that did come here. They know who they are. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Duxbury. And the next person chiming in for a question is Conrad Ostner. Mr. Ostner?
Hello.
Hi, Conrad.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, councilors, how are you?
I think we're well. Go ahead and ask your question.
I think my question may have been answered already. However, it's referenced the Butler Creek condominiums, the fencing. Will there be a fence put on the side?
I believe that Ms. Ferguson Aulthouse indicated that a fence would be placed along the southern portion of the property.
Okay. All right. And my second question, when they start the grading, right behind our place is a swale. And the contractor that put that swale in must have had a crooked eye, because it dips into our properties more than it should. So once it starts for the Butler Creek, moving the dirt sort of thing, will that swale be straightened out and equitable on both sides?
I can't speak to specific engineering or work that will be done, but I think it's fair to say that whatever happens with regard to a swale, the developer cannot drain onto your property under the Drainage Act.
Well, I realize that, but what I'm asking is if the swale would be moved so it's equitable on each side of the properties.
Yeah, I understand your question, but I can't answer the question because the developer will conduct work on their property, but will be unlikely to, unless you make friends, unlikely to perform work on your property.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you very much. Things have come a long way since this first started, and thanks to Councillor LeBlanc for coming out and talking and explaining things to me. So thanks everybody very much.
Thank you, Conrad. The next resident is Hyacinth Eckelhoff.
Good evening, Mayor Ostrander, members of Town Council, Engineer Department, and members of the public. First, I'd like to thank our Mayor and Town Council, as well as the Engineering Department, for working so diligently on our behalf with the builder to come to a satisfactory solution to the building of the new subdivision, Butler Creek. My question concerns whose responsibility is it for making sure the new homes follow all the rules and conditions regarding transitions, maintaining character of existing homes, that is the aesthetics of the homes, the setbacks and distances. If a current homeowner sees what they think is an issue, who do they call? The engineering department, town council, the builder, or someone else? And also, what happens if basements start flooding after construction has started? How are situations of this type usually handled?
So there's two questions there. The first is with regard to the aesthetic. Mr. Walsh, I wonder if you would mind chiming in on that. I assume that information would be detailed in the subdivision agreement.
Yes, Mayor. I think the question of transitions has largely been addressed through the most recent revisions to the subdivision, showing that single detached are now introduced abutting pier nautical. So the height of those buildings is determined through the zoning bylaw. I believe the maximum height is 11 meters. So that's probably the same maximum height as the zoning for pier nautical as well. So most of those issues will be addressed through the established standards in the zoning bylaw. Regarding post-construction flooding risks, we will have a stormwater management plan. It's been very well vetted, and answer more questions to council or the public if there are any specifically on that, but there will also be a grading and drainage plan. So the main swales will be determined through the stormwater management, but then there will be lot grading and drainage plans for each lot. So back to Mr. Ostner's questions about grading, perhaps that swale will be relocated to make for a proper 2% grade on that rear yard or side yard, as the case may be, and that sort of thing. So drainage will be addressed to both respects. So I don't anticipate that there will be any aggravated flooding of basements if that's currently the case.
So if there is a concern about aesthetics, they should call the planning department?
Yes, that would be fine.
And if there are any drainage concerns, they should call Public Works.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah.
That would work.
Ms. Eckelhoff, did you catch that?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. I
Welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you. And don't mute because I think Ms. Shannon has a comment or question rather.
Yes, before I ask my question, I just also like to thank Town Council, Mayor Ostrander, Planning Department, Mr. LeBlanc, all for listening to our concerns over the past year and a half and developing a site plan that includes extending our streets, gradating the homes. My question is concerning the traffic studies that have all been done. ACON did a study in 2009 saying that there were 8,500 vehicles per day crossing the tracks. 2019, a study was done by a town bylaw officer showing 10,000 cars over a 5-day period. And the more recent 2021 study by Jewel stated 127 cars from 8 to 9 a.m., 221 from 4 to 5 p.m. First of all, why the inconsistency? And second of all, with the new developments happening and there's guaranteed going to be more traffic, especially since Cedar is a very main artery road, shouldn't we have a better look at this to see if we can solve it before everybody moves in?
I think that the traffic studies have been peer reviewed, but Mr. Walsh, over to you.
Yes, Mayor, DM Wills did do a peer review of the traffic impact report. The comments in return were very brief, but they did have a review of it to make recommendations to staff, and the report reflects those recommendations. I don't know if there's anything more to add to that. The Manager of Approvals might make that input, but that's my understanding.
Mr. Barry, anything to add?
Yes, the subdivision draft conditions actually note that the recommendations of the traffic impact study will be incorporated into the final subdivision agreement. So that will be captured to that agreement. As for the larger cumulative question, typically we look at applications on a site-by-site basis, but I can appreciate the public's comments about the railway tracks. So Paul, I'm not sure if you have anything to add on that piece there.
No, I don't think I have too much more to add. The traffic report was a supplemental given the new internal roadway, so that they've had a chance to go at this a couple of times. The only option, I guess, would be have our peer reviewer take the concerns that we've heard and take it back and have them take another look at the numbers. But other than that, I think the report just expressed the same numbers in different ways. So it may look like inconsistencies, but our reports do a very aggregate total of the average annual daily traffic. As you heard, a report over a period of time and added up using the black cat mechanism. The dual report will have looked at snapshots in time, looking at peak PMs, AM flows, seasonal and weekend, how many are left turns, how many right turns at the key intersections adjacent to the development, et cetera. So the numbers there are kind of broken down. So it's difficult to compare the apples to orange sets of data.
Thank you for that. I hope that answers your question, Joe. I'm concerned that maybe it doesn't, and I'm thinking that if it doesn't, we may not have a specific answer to your question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And those are the 4 people that I'm aware of joining us for question period. Mr. Street, are you aware of anyone else coming in? No, thank you very much. All right, everyone. So that takes us to a motion to proceed into closed session. Once we've read the, assuming council passes the motion to proceed into closed session, we will be ending the live YouTube stream and taking a 10-minute recess. So I have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, that council resolves itself into closed session July 21st, 2021 at 7:21 p.m. pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 as amended, subsection 239(2)(b). Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, regarding wastewater pollution control plant concepts. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. So we will recess and reconvene at 7:30. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.